February 2026, this nice guy on the picture became quite famous on the GitHub because over just a few weeks, he committed actually to almost 100 repos with the fixes and improvements and etc. Very nice, pretty engaging. But then this guy reached out to one of the maintainers in the specific case of PushDB and pitched them, okay, you wanna me work for your project, for your open source project, make some improvements, it's pretty quick and etc. And when investigation became in process by this maintainer, it turned out that this guy can offer the paid services, right? Open close setup, configurations, and etc. And actually it advertises, hey, I'm not that human, right? I'm not that human who typically works 9-5. I am a bot who kind of works without any breaks and etc. So this story became quite famous as kind of one of the first such a public thing that bot completely was created from the ground up and then advertised their services themselves to the maintainers. Now, if you remember the exe backdoor thing, it took human 2 years with the preparations and etc. to eventually take over and put the malware in the package. Now it took just a like smaller amount of time. This is different now, right? How we perceive AI-assisted code contributions. I would not advertise the name of this guy, but you can Google and find this pretty much the famous story nowadays. On the other hand, this is Awesome MCP servers and other open source projects, and the maintainer of this open source project decided to do the little research and say, hey, you know, put additional context or additional instructions to the contributing guide saying, if your automated agent just adds these 3 icons to the pull request. And the result was fascinating. You can see all of these little things out there. And this person, whose name is Frank Figel, reported then in first 24 hours, 21 out of 4 new PRs actually included this, because the bots, they followed the instructions quite well. And he suspects that the real number is close to 70% of all of the PRs are actually purely AI generated. So that's kind of a new reality we're living in right now. And let's try to think how to deal with it. Good morning, Toronto. Good morning, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Roman. I work for Red Hat. I'm doing security things. I've been doing security things for 20-something years for companies, and both contributing to the open source and helping the maintainers and open source community to navigate security complexities. I came all the way from Ireland, original home of Guinness, Jameson, and all the beautiful things, and leprechauns, of course. And today we're going to talk how to handle AI-generated code, bringing a lot of examples from the open source world, but also you will find those hopefully useful for the enterprise, for the companies, how you're going to handle it inside the companies if you're not working in upstream in the open source. And let me start with how kind of everything is reimagined. I would not repeat all of these general talks about this, but this is how we used to do software development, right? All the way from planning to maintenance and to production and etc. But now with AI assistant, AI first, or AI SDLC, how we call it, it is all continuous agentic flow, ML ops, and everything else. There are a lot of talks and a lot of considerations how to build it from the very starting point all the way down, covering the whole life cycle. The purpose of this talk is cover the few specific things, how to deal with AI-assisted code contributions when they came to your repo, and a little bit how to review them, a little bit how to test and what automation to bring, and etc. So this is kind of small subset of the things you should be thinking of when you set up the entire AI-powered software development life cycle. Okay, a few questions to the audience. Who is using code assistance daily? Almost everybody. I see a few hands missing. Probably you just don't know about this yet, but then who's reviewed a pull request that's suspected was AI generated, at least once? Yes, almost everybody as well. And who is a maintainer or contributor to open source projects? Quite a few. I'd like to see you guys. But as I mentioned, the talk would be useful for everybody because the same concept applies actually to development behind the doors, the corporate development. But the examples will be mainly from open source because they're visible usually and easily verifiable. So how we used to do the contributions before, again, it doesn't matter in the open source or in-house. This is a screenshot from December 2025, not long time ago. I think this is a Go project, if I'm not mistaken. So this is the kind of healthy conversation and healthy pull request attempts like, okay, I'm introducing this little fix. Can you see if it looks good to you and etc. And then it took some time for reviewer to review it, but actually, the conversation goes down basically to a few exchanges, like okay, one small need or one mistake in the line, otherwise LGTM, right? Looks good to me, which is good, and that was merged in 2 review rounds. This particular PR and the contribution effort probably took some time because you need to actually understand how it's done, and reviewers' effort is not that dramatic because the contribution seems to be healthy by the indicators and by the how conversation goes. So that's sustainable. Now the same repo, actually just a month ago, just a month later, right? And maintainer of this repo decided to put the additional things to the contributing MD file to prevent AI slop PRs, because it turns out, we see more and more of this AI contributions specifically over the last 6 months or year. And before contributing AI slop PR to this repo, let's try to make sure you're responsibly doing this. And I've seen so many things when the maintainers try to follow up and ask, looks weird, your contribution looks weird because we don't have this function, or or it doesn't help. But you can explain it, right? And and then there's this size of explanation which actually doesn't help. So it boils down to the minutes of contributor efforts, or AI-assisted contributor effort, but took and takes so many hours for reviewer to actually do the thing. Again, it doesn't matter in open source or internally. So that's the thing, and there's kind of inverted picture that we see right now. Not quite sustainable at the moment. And yes, so I don't particularly like the term vibe coding. It's funny, but if we're serious, it's kind of AI-powered or AI-assisted code development, or AI helps contributor, but it's not vibe coding if you do it right. Okay, now a little bit down to security things. Bug bounty programs are also kind of under pressure, and I think I was one of the other security experts back 2-3 years ago, alarming like, hey guys, we can't afford ourselves to close bug bounty programs. And I was arguing a little bit with Daniel of Curl to put everything down and not allow researchers to actually to actually submit some of the security issues and etc. But before the AI slop or AI era, reporter, right, like who could be experienced security researcher or whatever, tried to do it responsibly, right, and in the meaningful way, and that's why I think Curl in this particular example ran over the 6-year period by bounty program, paid overall $100,000 to security researcher, which is good. And this is just one of the example of the healthy conversation that is public on HackerOne by bounty platform. That is, that's conversation exchange between the reporter and the maintainer. And despite the fact that the reporter kind of say, okay, I'm new to this process, I may not know anything, but that was healthy conversation back and forth and figuring out actually how to do the right thing. And that report was essentially accepted, right, confirming that this is a security problem. Now, vulnerability reporting of an AI era looks like this, and I borrowed these slides, which are this slide which is publicly available after the FOSDEM talk by Daniel Stenberg. Like, this is the snapshot of the yet another security report, right? Risk summary, affected software, trigger results. I mean, everything alarming is here. But then when Daniel triaged this, he mentioned that there is no such function that the report refers to, and the the JDB session is made up. We don't do this. The crash doesn't happen actually, and everything is fake, which is okay if you then along the conversation can answer the questions and probably admit your mistake and say, hey, I meant actually this, not that. And the easiest thing that reporter can do in this way, if there is no intention to kind of improve security posture, but rather to overwhelm the maintainer, say, it's my mistake, I withdraw my report, it's all good. But the conversation goes along, and the reporter used AI for the conversation, right? Like, I'm not a native English speaker, which is good, but then the conversation again went back and forth, not answering directly the question, which is the good indicator that this is all AI powered, and that's it. And then curl decided to shut down the program, which was really not a good decision for security posture of the project, but also sends the super wrong signal to the industry as a whole. Now, can we send them away, right? Can we fix these things, right? Can we actually make it better? And a lot of open source projects that's out there, and of course internally in companies as well, there are still conversations ongoing about how to properly document your policy, or say to yourself, to what extent I'm happy with all of these AI contributions. And different open source projects went the different way completely, and I will show you the scale. Completely different policy. For example, it starts with the restrictive one. Example is elementary OS, zero tolerance, permanent ban, everything you can find by the links. Actually, there is no secret. And this generative AI policy that the project published, because of the potential negative influence of AI-generated content on quality and legal consideration and everything else, we just don't allow these things, right? So this is a completely prohibited thing, and I've seen this in many open source projects, and I've seen this also in some of the companies. Now the next example is permissive with rules. That's done, for example, by Fedora project, which we support, and I was involved a little bit to this investigation. It took 18 months actually to end up with a good and responsible and healthy AI system contribution policy, and that's not because the people are slow or the process is not sufficient, but because the maintainers and other supporters needed to do it right, needed to bake and to reach the consensus, overcoming a lot of these hurdles and etc. But then the result was they came up with a pretty good policy. You can check it out again, and I then have seen it's been used in a lot of other projects, because it's actually a good example of very polished and very thoroughly discussed policy. Most AI welcoming, we also have seen the pivot towards, okay, we're just gonna accept that all of the code is made by AI, or at least partially by AI or with AI assistance, and therefore we kind of document how you should do your PRs, pull requests or merge requests better, right? And therefore some projects like KDIV, for example, even proposes the PR template in YAML machine readable format, so that when your AI agent makes the contribution, it's made in the structured way, right? With all necessary fields that needs to be filled in, which actually helps then review this better with automation and also with AI help. So like all this scale of AI policies, I would argue that we can send them away at this May 2026, right? But that's what is happening in the industry at the moment. Now another thing we all should think once we navigate our AI-assisted code contributions securely and responsibly, the scale, right? The scale in which all of these reports come into the projects or to the products we are working on, and I'm talking about the kind of regular issues and then pull requests, but also about the CVs and vulnerability reports. I like numbers, and I collected some for you. Like 2,000, is it 2,000 and a half code commits grown by Jan 2026. 17 million AI PRs as of March 2026, and a lot of other numbers that we can review together later, right? As one of the example that I like, 60% plus of new code in orgs is AI assisted. This is kind of research of the open source, but also there were surveys when they surveyed the companies to answer those questions. So the scale is just enormous, and it goes down to this pyramid that I kind of created, AI-assisted coding threats escalation pyramid. If we read it from bottom to very up, it starts with a slope, right, with an enormous amount of things that we need to deal with, then burn out because we just can't handle all of these things within the daylight time, right? And social engineering is an issue. CI/CD pipelines got poisoned sometimes, right? About with all of these contributions at the much faster pace, and supply chain issues also a big problem here. So the scale jeopardizes incident response, and we need to do something from security standpoint. As a security engineers, right, we need to understand this pyramid, and we need to handle it somehow also from incident response perspective. Now the problem itself and the kind of different points of this problem is confirmed by a lot of frameworks and a lot of people in the industry, specifically in this case. This is OWASP Agentic Top 10 as of 2026, and I highlighted the 13 parts that are most relevant to AI-assisted contribution, that threats like tool misuse, agentic supply chain, unexpected code execution, human agents trust, exploitation. So that it is kind of known problem, at least to some of the community members. I think our job as a security people then to make sure it's understandable by everyone else inside the companies and broader in the industry, and try to handle all of those things. So bottom line, the problem is not made up, and a lot of industry frameworks highlighting these things. Now, I would like you to take a moment, think about your project or about your company and the process, development process that is in your company, and where on that spectrum are you today, as I mentioned, right? Like regarding the AI contributions and what do you do, and do you kind of consider all of these things? But most importantly, where do you need to be tomorrow, on Monday, a month from now? Probably we don't have the year from now time frame to actually figure out how we handle all these things. But yeah, the next part would be what we're going to do about all of these issues and challenges that we have. But before that, how many of you think that AI coding policy exists in your organization or in your project, and you understand it and believe everybody's understand it? Just a few hands, which the good justification of we need to talk about this, right? We need to think about it. And the next one, I am concerned that my company rules are not keeping up with the pace of AI-assisted coding. A lot more hands, and again, this is good to hear. Let's try to think how we're gonna go about this. Another quote from the co-founder of Discourse, actually: AI tools have made code generation cheap, but they haven't made code review cheap, right? So that's the problem, that's the bottleneck. Every incomplete PR consumes a maintainer attention, right? I mean, this is, again, universal truth for both open source and enterprise development. Now, I would suggest to focus on these 4 pillars to handle AI-assisted code. Again, that would be the subset of the overall AI or agentic AI, augmented AI development lifecycle into your company. But if we're talking about AI-assisted code contribution, I personally believe it sits on these pillars: clear policy, secure AI coding guidelines, framework, tools and quality gates, and accelerated vulnerability response. As we, I think, all agree now that all of these things are very important to tackle the problems that we have been discussing just a moment ago. Now let's dive in each of them, and also probably we'll have some practical things, and if DemoGods allows us, show a little bit demo. It first starts with the policy, and I know that a lot of people, a lot of developers, they hate policy, they hate compliance, they hate hearing about this, and that's why the policy wording is a little bit ambiguous. But policy sets the right expectations, and we need to start with this, right? And the good thing is, it shouldn't be, at least at the first iteration, it shouldn't be the policy as some of us working for the big enterprises, big corporations, used to see, like these large documents, like 800 pages and etc. That could be like this AI-assisted contributions, right? Like you may use AI coding assistant, but we have the 3 requirements, and we ask you or all contributors to review, right? And we actually review all of the contributions at the same standard, right? Regardless or not it came with AI-assisted tools. Simple enough, 60 to 100 words. That's it. That's a good start. We started with this initially, and a lot of folks, a lot of projects started with just this thing. And then it could be polished, of course, but it's just as simple as that. If you think it's too short, I can bring one more example from the one very small project which called Linux kernel, right? So these guys don't think that the short is bad, and this is AI coding assistant policy for the Linux kernel, 130 words plus a little example. Actually, example helps to lay down the expectations. And looking into this example, I modified it a little bit, but you can find the original one on the Linux kernel docs, linuxkernel.org. The one suggestion here, don't use co-created or co-authored by AI, use AI assisted or assisted by AI instead. That's going to be a long legal conversation probably, but that's what I personally learned as a pitfall. To avoid all of these concerns about authorship and etc., just recommended to use assisted by, not co-created or co-authored with whatever tool. That was for open source projects. We went ahead in my company in Red Hat and done our own AI-assisted development policy. Of course, we have the internal version of it, but we also have a blog post outlining all these principles, and we have ebook that you can download. This is nothing about marketing at all. This is pure practices that we use internally, and there are 7 rules that we outlined. Basically, human in the loop on the approved AI code assistance, which is super important for companies, but also for open source projects as well, right? Prevent exposure of sensitive info. Be mindful of copyrights. Review upstream projects AI policies. When you use something or you contribute something back, you need to make sure you adhere to those policies as well. And that we rolled out internally in the company, because all that we do is in open source, and we contribute a lot to the open source. So that's additional reminder to our own engineers to adhere to open source practices and governance models. As I mentioned, Mark, assisted by or generated by, if you believe that all is generated by the tool and you didn't have any hands on these things, and licenses are super important as well. So again, like the 7 principles, you can break it down to the large document, but that's what we found particularly useful. Now the second thing, the second practical thing I wanted to dive in a little bit is about learning security practices for AI coding. Slide is pretty busy, but you can find again everything by the QR code or by the links. When I talk about learning security practices for AI coding, I would like to reference to the keynote of today, right? Like, that is not something that we easily transfer to the cloud and then establish the VPN to our brain that's now in the cloud and over there to get the knowledge back. I mean, before we learn the basics and before we understand the basics, especially important in our space, in security, right? You can't do anything meaningful with AI, with AI tools and etc. That's why security practices, and specifically security practices for AI coding, is super important. And one way to do this is to take this free class. I also contribute to a lot of open source initiatives, and in this case specifically to the OpenSSF. I'm a maintainer of a few things there, and co-chairing a few working groups. We have made this security-focused guide for AI code assistant instructions, which I also co-authored, and then folks made this secure AI ML-driven software development class, which is free, actually, zero cost, free to take, to learn these basics in an interactive mode, which is great because it talks about essential things. Namely, you're the developer, AI is assistant, right? I mean, probably that's going to change when the Skynet conquers the world, but so far, that's the truth. Engineering best practices always apply to everything, right? Engineering-centric, that's it. Be security conscious, assume AI code has bugs, guide AI with security-focused prompts, ask AI to review its own work, and express concerns and verify facts. Again, this is specific guidelines how to deal with within the AI-assisted loop or within the AI-assisted tools that developers are working right now. Okay, just not teaching them how to write the code specifically, but how to write it securely from the very beginning. Just not to be talk about the general things, I will bring you one simple example. Just pick up a secure AI prompt from examples that are in this OpenSSF guide that I just mentioned. This is actually pretty short guide, but also contains a few examples that are easily digestible and understandable by developers. I found it particularly useful to point that out to engineers and to others who may or may not have security background. As a person who created security champion programs for a couple of companies over the years, this is quite useful to spread the word, to inspire other people with a short and concise guidance, again, which is super dev-centric, not like, okay, let's start with SIA, triad, and etc., etc. So that could be boring for non-security folks. Now, this is a particular example. Without security instructions, I would go like write a search function with a user input, right? And as a result, I can easily get the XSS, right? Cross-site scripting, remote code execution problem, or SQL injection attacks. Pretty frequent even nowadays. I see it like frequently pop up here and there. And if you follow the OpenSSF guide that you just mentioned, there is a particular example that you can just copy and paste or modify, whatever. For example, like a little bit extension of this request to AI assistant. For Python, don't use specific functions on the user input and proper safe APIs, and when generating Node.js specifically, use prepared statements and etc. So this all good practices came actually from the books, from everything that industry learns from OWASP and other industry guidelines. So it will help to prevent these things. Now, if we are going into the agentic era right now, of course, all of this should be, or actually must be, part of your skills, or Claude MD skills, MD agents, MD whatever name of the file for the relevant code assistance, and should be the regular citizen of your spec-driven development workflow, right? All the way from constitution to implementation. I would not pay that much attention for this particular part, but again, this all starts from basic to learn where to search, where to kind of find these things, and then you can automate it, then you can boil it down. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is security of AI-assisted code development working group. OpenSSF is not only the one avenue when we discuss and when we try to help developers and everyone in the industry to make sure we do it properly. Another one is COSAI, Coalition for Secure AI, which is under OASIS Open, which we're also part of. And this group is running the specific working group, which is AI-assisted code development. It's broader scale, and I promise not to dive deep too much into the end-to-end, but this work is particularly important, I think, to follow at least, and then maybe to implement parts of it as part of your SDLC or AI/SDLC that a lot of companies implement right now. It starts with Enterprise Control Framework, which is, provides you with a machine-readable governance and policies and risk-based dynamic review protocols and etc. So it's really like foundational work. It is not as simple as I shown like before, like the simple recommendation, but maybe for enterprises and to do it at enterprise grades at the company, you wanted to check this out. Defend in-depth blueprint policy as code mapped to OWASP SVS framework, and a lot of other good practices that again may or may not be new in the industry, but having the right pointers and the right sources when you can easily find them and include into your processes is a good thing. It's all curated, right? It's all like curated based on practice and security hardening methodology. So these three deliverables that this group is working on. And by the way, this is completely open. You can join, you can follow, you can check out in the GitHub. Everything that I'm showing today is purely open source and, of course, free to participate and to consume. One of the particular examples that this group is working on is Project CodeGuard, which is about embedding security practices into agentic workflow. Like, the principles are good. How exactly we're going to do this, right? What's the tool or tools can help us to do this work? And the CodeGuard, again, this project's under OASP now. It's getting completely free and open source. You can check it out. It contains some skills. It blocks hard-coded secrets and do some other security things. It works with the popular tools. It's very small here, but it's just a list of all of the popular AI assistant coding tools. So it can be plugged into everything from Cursor to Code to Copilot and etc. etc. And it enforces security by design, which is super important. It connects to other work that's happening under COSI is to map AI ecosystem personas, right? Starting from the model provider, data provider, and all the way down through your cycle, and identify the personas like ML AI engineers, developers, security reviewers, and etc., and map them to the tool so that the skills that are embedded into the tool can assist you with the overall workflow process. So the project is under active development, but I think it's available to try it out. What else? This is skills, right? A lot of things, as I mentioned, that we do at the moment is adherent to the spec-driven development, which assumes that we have some of the skills, right? Instructions and description of the personas or of the actions that should be done, should be ingested by AI tool to actually perform the task. And I'm going to leave you with this. It is coming from Red Hat, but it's completely free and open source. You can find it in the GitHub. You can contribute. You can submit issue or something. But this is very robust, secure skills catalog, 128. The one thing I like about it that it is actually battle tested. So we used it internally and continue to use it internally. It is not duplication of other work that's done. We refer to other skills that we find particularly interesting, but there is something that we didn't find yet publicly available, at least. For example, we have the skill for differential security review, and this is, again, something unique. Here, it can help you to understand the difference, to equip AI tool to understand the difference between the code changes, right? And how to do it actually. Not like generic thing, okay, this is input validation skill, which also exists in this repo, but this particular one useful as part of the workflow. How to use these skills, it's super nice, and I'm going to bring some example during my demo. Hopefully this is going to work, but it's super nice. You can use the relevant skills like, for example, input-output sanitization, review this MCP server for injection risks, right? It's just as simple as this one string, or write a fuzzing harness for this parser, okay, for those who implement fuzzing, or review the security impact of this diff, which is, again, super important, and this is thoroughly created actually. So try it out. Super useful to check the AI assisted contribution that we use and encourage everybody else to use as well. Now I'm going to show you a little bit of demo. It is, let's see if DemoGods cooperates with me today. They may not, but we will try. It's nothing really secret sauce here, but to show you how it may work in practice. Therefore, that's going to be certain manual steps that, of course, you can automate in practice, but to the purpose of show how it works and to understand how it all works, I will do some manual steps. So I created this little repo, which is demo repo, right? But it's actually the real application, sort of. yeah, like a minimal Flask application written in Python with some of authentication form and etc. And it also contains a little nice contributing AI assistant guide. I think this is 60 words, maybe less, which is good. And I will be using this repo as a guinea pig. So let's pretend that there is a external code contribution happening to this code, and I just I prepared a little script that pretends it is external AI contributor and creates the pull requests to my repo. Let's see. Let's see if it creates the PR for me, and if the and actually I this is kind of my work environment, right? My local work environment is the reviewer as a maintainer, and this is my kind of tool set on the left and repo, and I already cloned the product security skills here. As you can see, the whole catalog is here for me to be prepared to do AI-assisted code review for these contributions. Let's see if it is there. Small, probably can make it higher. Okay. Let's see whether it is happening in the repo itself. Working a little bit slow. Because of the internet connection. So yes, I will be skipping a few steps here. Like again, normally you should clone the skills repo to the skills GitHub to your repo, but it could be skipped. Let's see if we have a PR list here. Open pull request so far. Once again, if internet connection works. And I don't have the video prepared, but I have some of the other PR close so that we can see what was happening when I tested this out. So nothing. We don't have new pull request, but anyway, this is kind of expected, right? When you do the live demos, I've just done it an hour ago, as you can see. So there was the original pull request to my repo, which was like, hey team, this is out of mode, and probably this is missing like password hashing and etc. This is a quick fix, and it's really quick. Because if you can scroll down to the files changes, it adds something, but not that dramatic amount of code, right? Sounds like a good improvement, and this contributor requests, pretty straightforward fix, right? Looks good to me, and etc. And then I'd like to apply the and then as a reviewer. I would like to actually use the skills, right? And I would go to my nice AI code assistant and copy and in this case I will copy and paste. I will not dictate this as we've seen over the keynotes today. Yes, I have this pre-fetched like AI assisted the prompt for my AI assistant. So basically I got this new pull request, right, as it seemed like it was good to me, and then I ask AI assistants to actually review it. Let's see if internet connection works again to this one. So I just copy and paste, but normally in your automated workflow you can do it. You can feed in your agent automatically, right, with this, so that it comes up with some of the conclusion. At least this is working. This part is working. So it understands, right, that I have all of the security skills there. It understands which particular security skills needs to be picked up for this, because it understands what PR does, right? And it produces like a little table with a recommendation actually to reject this pull request because of the following reasons. And the nice table, right? And the recommendation also for contributor. How it would look like in reality like this for the contributor. Okay, this is a security review and I request some changes because, you know, there are a lot of things to consider. For example, SQL injection, as I mentioned, it has actually links to the code. I rejected the changes, that's why, and rejected the original PR, that's why the link is not working, but it follows to the actual code and say, and let you or contributor see what's wrong exactly, right? And it suggests actually to do the nice thing to contributor, to review the free class and OpenSF guide to do it more responsibly, right? So that's the entire workflow. Okay, let's kind of switch back to the demo that didn't work in full, but hopefully you get the point how scales would be useful and how they could be integrated. Now, I also mentioned that for talking about the next pillar, right? Remember, we have been discussed so far AI policy, which is important. We have been discussed code contribution guidance, which is important. And now we are going to discuss automation gates and etc. And this is kind of the reminder of the overall workflow. It all starts with pull requests, submitted or merge requests, and then it would be nice to have some sort of AI slope filter. And again, it is applicable also inside the companies, because for quite large companies, we also have this kind of slope AI code contributions by our own developers, right? Of course, for open source project, it's applicable as well. And I'm going to advertise this little thingy, open source project, PicoSS anti-slope. It runs under 15 seconds, typically has 31 checks, and derived from 130 plus manually reviewed AI slope PRs. And, you know, I like this project because it really contains of the lessons learned. Remember this robot emoji, right? It actually checks the number of emojis, because the modern AI code contributions tends to be emoji heavy, right? And if you see too much of them into your PR, probably it's a red flag. And it has the scoring system. So it scores all of these 31 checks and adds up to the eventual scoring. And then it would assist you as the reviewer, flagging, okay, that is highly likely is AI generated, for example, right? And again, there are a lot of good practices like require PR titles to follow conventional commits, spec, for example, or number of repositories forked by this particular committer in any 24 hours. Like it all adds up to the overall score. I personally get a lot of questions how to detect AI slope. I think that is a good repo when you can find the good practices how to do it and actually use the tool itself to help you. Now, usual analysis that we do as a security engineers against our code, it is SAST, DAST, and everything else. Not to dive into this topic too much, it's still useful. One of the popular questions that I frequently get is SAST and all of these scanners are dead now because we have AI taking over of everything. I would argue no. And I will bring a few examples just in a few minutes why I think this is the case. But there are a lot of useful tools out there. We specifically, for our company, we use the tool that's called Rapidust. It's open source, of course, originated in the Red Hat, but works with Zap project. And you know that this allows also LLM red teaming, leveraging Garak, NVIDIA's project. and it integrates nicely with CI/CD and etc. etc. So just check it out if you want to get another tool for scanning. But anyway, there are a lot more very useful tool out there. I will skip dependency check, CV, and license scanning because it's topic in itself. For AI code review, again, there are a lot of attempts to do AI-assisted code review. We also have done some of the things, and again, this open source project originated inside our company, but is open for everybody, and you can check this out. It integrates nicely with GitHub and GitLab, both of those tools, and basically with any CI/CD tool that you have. It review your local changes before committing and analyze existing pull requests, merge requests from the terminal. There's a lot of features, may not be applicable to you, but we find it's particularly useful. Again, battle tested based on how our own reviewers kind of considers the AI assistant contributions. And don't replace all the good classic automation. That works fine with AI tools. I was so happy and so pleased to hear this very statement from the keynote and during this morning, right? Like don't let AI write you the simple commands or simple bash scripts, right? This just automation, deterministic automation is work nice, and it is applicable to scan tools as well. Of course, we need to then apply AI assistants to wrap them around the workflow, but the scanners themselves or the similar tools, they are deterministic for good reason. And the quality gates, right, and any gates are deterministic for good reason, right? So don't tend to replace everything by AI. So that's super important. Now, vulnerability triage framework in an AI era. We touched on this when we were discussing the problem statement and the scale of the problem that we have, right? Remember the overwhelmed contributors, but also the huge avalanche of the security reports and the reports in general, but specifically vulnerability reports. And with the modern models, right, like Mythos and others, we will see more and more of these things. And if we look at this from bottom to the very top, right, it is like, or like vice versa, it all starts with all incoming reports on the very top, and then you should intake it, right, like require proof of concept probably, affected versions, and etc. Then AI detection probably can help a little bit, as I mentioned on the previous slide, like to filter out, to do some pre-checks, to do some pre-filtering, and then we probably want to check reports of reputation, and then AI-assisted triage is also possible, as just like a AI-assisted code review. Of course, AI-assisted triage for vulnerability issues in particular is quite useful. Again, not replacing the human verification, which we can't allow ourselves to drop, at least not at this very moment. Now, again, thinking like open source projects, curl killed bounty program entirely at first, right? But then they returned back to HackerOne as a platform, just seizing monetary bounties. And not at higher, and right now they not at higher quality repos in general, but they initially just close this down, right? So it's one approach, of course. Now Node.js also canceled payments and leverage HackerOne signal reputation metric that can help with filtering out the slop things. They're kind of responsible steps, but they also stop the monetary recognition, because a lot of open source projects, at least, notice that there are a lot of low quality things that just chasing the money bounty. Now, if we take a moment, and they're open source projects, right? Okay, that's fine, but can your company pass your vulnerability management? We can't, right? Our company can't. So we just can't say, we close bug bounty program, we close vulnerability reporting. It is not possible. That's why we need to handle it. And the one way to handle it, as I mentioned, leverage security analysis, because the amount of the reporting, of the vulnerability reporting, will be growing actually quite exponentially, I think. And this is another open source project that I can recommend. You can use other ones, but I can recommend this, Aegis AI. It is leveraging the generative AI for deep security analysis on CVs, advisors, and critical artifacts, exactly for the purpose of dealing with the pre-populated, pre-analyzed intake phase that you have for your vulnerabilities and for your reports, and then try to match them, try to research, and try to automate actually repetitive triage tasks. It is LLM driven, and it analyzes, and then if there is no impact analysis like CVSS score or CWE assessment, it does it for you. It actually detects PII and security context as well, and component information card, and produces automated security text refinement. So all the way to automate your job as the member of P-source team or whoever triages the reports with a good enough context so that you can review later. And of course, it has integrations with a lot of tools and actually agentic workflows, leveraging diverse contexts via MCPs. And it leverages the public sources. There is again no super secret source in it. It just automates the work based on the experience. That is what I think would be more and more useful in AI world, to use someone else's experience and to apply it, right? And this is the way how to do it, using the open source projects and tools. Okay, we thought about all of our companies and where we are, where we need to be, and whether or not we can close down certain programs. And I would say here is what you can do starting Monday for handling your AI-generated code, given all the things that we just discussed and learned. First of all, publish AI coding policy. By publishing, I mean for the open source projects, just create it and publish. For the in-house, create it and publish inside the company. Make sure it is visible and understandable by everyone. Learn secure AI coding practices. Don't skip it. I mentioned principles like defense in depth, for example, they are not going away, right? They should be leveraged and should be understood as you work with your developers, with your development community, or with your developers inside the company. Pick up one framework. Don't research endlessly. The only constant thing is change nowadays in the AI, right? Just pick up one that I mentioned or something else and start doing now. Adopt tools and skills that are available. Again, they are at the very good quality now. Of course, there is a room for improvement, but the existing things that I just mentioned, they are good already. And for my demo, it didn't work fully, but I tried the same demo, was it 12 PR, right? 12 times. And the results coming out of the AI assistant suggesting all of these issues was actually the same. So the roles kind of different, but the number of issues and the actual issues are the same. So it's very good quality. Automation, not over engineering. Don't use AI for everything. I mentioned this. And 8, AI vulnerability handling with AI now. Again, CVE reporting tsunami is already coming for open source 100%. We are so concerned about it, but for companies as well, and especially with accelerated reporting obligations, the different regulations around the world, like CRA in EU, for example, you are going to be on the hook as well. By QR code, you can find our product security risk report. This is not kind of purely AI thing, and it is not generated by AI. It's carefully crafted and assisted by AI, crafted by actual engineers. This is for the last year, how we have done with the our own products and with some of the popular open source projects that we contribute to, like Linux kernel operating systems and etc. And to end my little speech, how it worked before, right? So like this, I think discussing a lot of things for good reasons, of course, and we wanted to continue to do this at least to some extent, but I feel more and more we are now doing like this, right? And the most important things to keep us on track, and again alluding to keynotes of today's morning, to do it, we need to understand that AI is a tool, not a developer, so far at least. Be mindful to humans, to all of us, and stay secure, of course. Thanks very much.